Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome, everybody. We have a big show and some big announcements today. But first off, starting with this episode here, we have a new title sponsor. Our partnership with AMSOIL remains strong. For the past year, they have been our title sponsor, and I truly appreciate their support, and I'm glad to have them continue to be a part of this program. You're going to continue to hear about AMSOIL and all their amazing products. At this point, though, I am very excited to announce our new partnership with Trans-American Auto Parts, specifically one of their big brands, which is 4-Wheel Parts. So we're going to be talking a lot about 4-wheel parts and some of the amazing things that they're doing for the off-road and the racing community. And additionally, with this episode, we're introducing the High Octane Coffee Marketing Tune-Up of the Day. And this segment is going to feature Joey Sylvester of High Octane Coffee as he gives you kind of tidbits of sponsorship advice. I've been teasing this a little bit for the past couple episodes. It is happening in this one. And if you have any questions about Joey, he can be reached at Joey Sylvester8 on Instagram. And you can also find out more about the coffee company at High Octane Coffee at High Octane Coffee. All one word, all lowercase. So just tons of good stuff to get out there right off the bat. But now it's time to kick this thing off for real. So welcome to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4-Wheel Parts. And today we have snowmobile and vintage car racer Leah Bauer on. Leah is very well connected in the motorsports community. We talk about some of that. And you may have heard her on Jim Beaver's Down and Dirty radio show in the past. So we have that in common. We've been on that show together just at different times. So really fun interview, really cool person. We'll get into that in a minute. I just have a few other things I want to cover with you. This show here exists to make sure that we can find your potential in a motorsports sponsorship. We want to unlock it. We want to give you tips and tricks and, mindset hacks so that you have the best information possible for your sponsorship program. So we're going to get into the interview. We talk about all that stuff, but if you've never listened to the show before, just look at all of the different guests we've had on in the past. Start picking and choosing which ones you want to listen to. I guarantee you're going to get some good information and you're going to make changes to your sponsorship program as a result, and also for the better. And I would love to get your feedback, whether it's your first time or your 100th time listening to the show. Head over to iTunes, leave a rating and review. That does a lot for the exposure for the show. And then subscribe, that way you don't miss any of our upcoming shows. This episode here is brought to you by AMSOIL. They provide amazing lubrication products, and they're a company that runs on freedom. You can find out more at amsoil.com/rider. SolderWeld, they produce game-changing metal bonding technology. TopThePodium.com, they are experts in motorsports sponsorship and website creation. Bold Racing, they're a family race team and GSP XTV axle specialist. Crash Addict Industries, they provide human protection and extreme racing products. And I also want to shout out some of our other partners, including MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, GSP XTV, Diode Dynamics, and High Octane Coffee. Now it's time to get into the show, but first we will start with your High Octane Coffee Marketing Tune-Up.
What's up, guys? Joe Sylvester here with your High Octane Coffee Marketing Tune-Up of the Day. Today I want to talk about sponsor attraction. Sponsor attraction, to me, is a much better tactic than quote-unquote sponsor hunting. You want to build your brand. You want to establish yourself in the racing community and in the marketing realm of things. As a respected individual, as a professional, you don't want to just keep knocking on doors and hoping somebody answers. You want the sponsors to come to you. That is the most ideal situation for you to be in, and it's the most ideal situation for them. Believe it or not, companies do have, people that work for them, or even owners of companies. They take notice on social media. They see what's going on, and they see the brands. They see the people that stand out. Make yourself stand out from the rest. Be very active on social media. Be very active with your press releases. Try to grow your email database. And like I said, build your brand. Make your brand something that a company would be proud to be associated with. And like I said, when they come to you, it's a much better feeling than sitting there all night long sending out 100 emails. I know this from experience, trust me.
today I've got a featured guest on here, and, well, there's a couple of big deals going on. First off, before I even introduce you, your birthday's coming up in a couple of days, so maybe even as this show releases, depending on how it works out. But we got Leah Bauer on here. So, Leah, I want you to fill in the gaps for the intro and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. My name's Leah Bauer. I live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I'm a graphic designer, and on the side, I like to race snowmobiles and race cars. I'm definitely an adrenaline junkie. I like to go fast. I like motors. I'm a big gearhead, so that's exactly why I do what I do. And it's nice to tie in my graphic design and photography with it because I like to design in the motorsports industry and take photos in the motorsports industry. It's just been a passion of mine since I was younger, and I'm actually, as they say, living the dream.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right off the bat, we had talked about this your first time doing a podcast, which is awesome. I get a lot of first timers on the show. It's really cool, but you're definitely not new to content creation in general. Graphic design, photography, lots of content creation that comes along with that. And you're definitely not new to motorsports. Like that was the primary reason I wanted you on the show, because you do both the snowmobiling and the car racing. I was like, that's pretty sweet. I cover both of those on this show, but rarely, if ever, have I had a guest that does both of those things on the show at the same time. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. I love that I have my winters and my summers covered with fun sports, and racing is probably my favorite of any of the sports that I do. So I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to dig in to your background a little bit more because, honestly, I'm curious about how you got into both of these different disciplines. I want to know more about that. And let's start from the get-go. Like, how did you even get into motorsports?
Sure. Well, I'm actually pretty lucky. My dad is a huge gearhead. He is a world junior champion snowmobile racer. He used to race motocross, and he still races cars as well today. But my parents got divorced when I was younger, and I think I just gravitated more towards my dad, and he was always in the shop, and we were always working on things. He was always teaching me, how to work on cars, how to work on sleds, how to do this, how to do that, how to ride. And I just fell in love with it. And I actually have a younger brother that nobody really knows about because he's very much introvert. We are complete opposites. He doesn't come to the races, no social media. So I lucked out because I got to get into the vehicles and on the dirt bikes and do everything that he probably could have fought me for when we were younger, but he wanted nothing to do with it. So I just hung out with Dad at the shop all the time, learning new things, driving anything I could possibly get into. And it just went from there.
Oh, that's perfect. Sometimes I hear people come on this show, they talk about their siblings, they race against one another, or, in this case, it's like, no, I got to focus on the racing, and, my sibling got to do whatever they do. Yeah, it's cool. I'd like to hear that story.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty funny. He's actually a scientist.
Oh,
and so,
okay,
like
cool.
I said, complete opposites.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm curious about like the path. Let's get into when you first started racing and kind of take us from that point to now.
Sure. I actually did not start racing as early as most people do. I always wanted to, and I started off kind of riding dirt bikes and racing, just against friends and whatnot, nothing major. But my mom was very anti little baby girl getting hurt. Mm-hmm. So she kind of put a hold on a lot of things for me. And my dad definitely did not want to get in trouble with her since they were divorced. So he kind of listened to her quite a bit with the racing aspect of things. So everything was kind of down low under the covers. Nobody really knew kind of that I was interested in that stuff or playing around on things that could potentially really hurt me. And so I didn't even start racing snowmobiles until I was probably like 17, I would say. And I just did a couple small regional like races that didn't matter, that nobody came to.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, so that kind of ended all of that. And out of college, then I started kind of getting into the cars with my dad and racing at Road America and Brainerd and stuff. But then after college, I wanted to get back into snowmobiles, so I started. I used to go to, well, I still do. I go to ride with the champs for the Snowmobile Hall of Fame every year. And a family friend had seen me riding on the trails and said, "Wow, you're really fast. Have you ever considered racing?" And I said, "Well, I would love to, but this factor and this factor and this factor are not allowing me to do that." And so he wanted to help out. He had won the I-500 in the 80s and was super excited about being involved in racing again. So he thought, well, this is his ticket. If I could, be on his team per se, we could do it that way. And so him and I actually raced the I-500 together a couple years ago, and he got hurt. So he quit racing, but he still loves being at the races, being, around all of it. So he helps me out. My dad does too. My dad comes to the races and stuff, but snowmobiles are obviously my biggest passion in the winter, and then I'm still racing the cars in the summer. And it's funny because people ask me what I like better. Well, if you ask me in the winter, I'm going to say I like snowmobile racing better. And if you ask me in the summer when I'm in the car, I'm like, oh, I love car racing way better. So I go back and forth. I think it's a toss-up between which I like better, but I'm definitely very lucky to have grown up around racing and be able to live my dreams of being in the race industry. Yeah.
So it's funny that you just said about in the winter snowmobiling is your favorite, and then the summer it's getting in the car racing. Because I don't race at all, which some people are surprised by that, but I do snowmobile, and I always have some sort of summer sport. I did ATVs and side-by-sides for a long time, and now I've just recently gotten the Jeeps. So at the beginning of winter, like first snowfall, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's nothing in the world other than snowmobiling. Like that's the only thing
right.
that I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. Like I want to quit my job and just go snowmobiling.
Right.
And as soon as it warms up and I commit in my mind, I'm like, all right, season's done. Like once I say in my head, season's done, I hate snow. Like I want nothing to do with it. I'm like, let's get going with the four-wheelers or the sand dunes or Jeeps or whatever it is. Like let's move on now. And it's a switch.
That's exactly how I feel as well. Yeah, for sure. It really is, especially because it starts to warm up in April, and you'll have an 80-degree day, and then the next week it'll start snowing, and it's like you can't do anything with the snow. By then it's just a mess. I'm over it. Like I love it when it first comes in, and once you get that taste of that 80 degrees and you're ready for summer, I don't want to see the snow again.
Yeah. So speaking of the 80 degrees one day and something else the other day, so I'm in Southwest Michigan, and we have similar weather to where you're at, and I was just this morning we got 3 inches of snow, something like that. It started late last night, accumulated a little bit, and then we got some snow. Today, I'm not kidding, I didn't have it in the water, but I had my boat out, washing it, cleaning it, and just sweating. It was so surreal. I literally was crazy. Just, I don't know what it was, 60, 62, I don't know what it got to. In the sun, just, it's something else. I don't know how to process that type of shift in the weather, but hey, it happens all the time.
Right.
But,
it does.
Good. Well, okay. So sorry, I interrupted your story there. I lost where we're at.
That's okay.
So.
I totally get off on tangents all the time.
You went to college.
Nothing new to me.
I got that. You went to college, and then you came back and you said, or maybe you're still in college. I don't know, but you came back at some point. You said, I'm gonna get back into racing.
Right. Yeah. After college, when I had some more time on my hands and stuff like that, it was a lot easier to get back into racing, and just having the freedom because, schooling takes up so much time. I was playing volleyball. I was doing this. I was doing that. I had a job. So it was a lot of time and effort and, money to try racing while I was in college. And so I actually didn't even start racing snowmobiles again until 2014, which I think I just aged myself, but whatever.
It's all good.
So, I got back on the sleds in 2014. I got my actual race license for cars in 2016. So I had kind of been racing cars a little bit with my dad, doing some co-driving, and so I actually decided to get my race license and be fully certified. So I did that, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since. It's been so much fun. I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's good. Well, let's hear more about what you're racing today. Like, what types of vehicles, what types of circuits are you running? Let's hear about that.
Sure. So for snowmobiles, I am running with USXC and Core Power Sports. This has been a really tough year for me. Going into it, my third race with an injury, major injury. I unfortunately was not able to continue the season. I will be having another knee surgery actually in 2 weeks. They've got to go back in and repair some more stuff, and I'm just not healing right. So that pretty much took me out for the season, which was a huge bummer because I had just jumped onto Polaris from Skidoo.
Oh, yeah.
My sleds were so fast. I got them all dialed in. Everything was set up perfectly. I was so comfortable on the sleds. And then it just was a freak accident that happened, and been laid up all winter, but plan to be back next year for sure, staying with Polaris, and everything's set up good for me. So I'm gonna, probably stick with what I've got and see what I can pull up next year. But as far as cars, I was racing a 1959 Austin Healey with my dad. We raced vintage road racing, and last year we bought a 1960 Austin Healey that I will be racing, so that
Nice.
we don't have to co-drive. I was kind of catching up to my dad's time, so he kicked me out of the car and he made me get my own.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
It'll be fun though. It's a lot of fun. Last year I raced his car a couple times, and then I raced my driving instructor's car a couple times. I got kicked out of both cars, and so I had to get my own. But it's a lot more fun. I mean, it's fun co-driving, but it's a lot more fun being on track with my dad because we can kind of dice, and I like following him because I can watch his lines and kind of see how he races. So it's fun. I'm glad that I'm able to do that with him. It's a pretty cool experience.
Very cool. So are you doing like time attack autocross style racing?
It is road racing. So we race with the SCA, Vintage Drivers Association.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's all long course, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Road racing. So main home track is Road America. We've been to Brainerd. There's a track in Illinois called Black Hawk Farms Raceway. I know a lot of bike guys will know where that is because they race bikes there and at Road America. There's 2 tracks in Michigan. So I race at Groton, and I actually got my race license at Gingerman.
Okay.
So those are the 2 in Michigan. My dad races up in Canada at a track, but I've not been to that one. So kind of go all over, but mostly stick in the Midwest.
Good deal. Well, I am going to be doing my first autocross race this summer. It's not really a race. It's an event that we're putting on at my company. So either way, it's going to be autocross. I'm taking my stock Ford Focus.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and not the cool Ford Focus, not the one that's like the ST or the RS. It's like the SE, just standard vehicle. But either way, I'm going out there.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, there's a bunch of amateurs going. Like most people have not raced. There's probably gonna be like 2 people there that smoke us all because they actually have experience. Yeah. But either way, I'm running that. I expect to bring home the gold medal, even though there is no gold medal or any medals at all. But I plan to bring that one home.
Perfect. Yeah, I've done a few autocrosses in my day. I went up to Brainerd, and I've done a couple here in Eau Claire in a spec Miata, and that was fun.
Oh, yeah. The whole Miata thing, there's a subculture of Miatans.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
I didn't even know about that until like a year ago. Yeah. It's almost as crazy as the Jeep culture, which I was shocked at how massive the Jeep culture was. But yeah, the Miata culture is, probably can compete on some scale.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, good. Well, hey, let's talk through some of your current sponsors. Who are the people that you're working with right now, or your partners, the people that help make your program work?
Sure. Well, my main sponsor is Fly Racing. They provide me with all my gear, my helmet, my boots, Under Armour, type stuff. I love working with them. They're great. They've really, really helped me out. I've been with them since the start, and they just, it seems like every year they give me more and more, and it's just nice to have somebody that's got my back like that wants to, help me and really provide what I need to, make my race season better. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, so you've been with them so you said since the beginning, huh?
Yeah, so I started, like I said, back into sleds in 2014, and it was kind of a matter of having to reach out to people. Obviously, when you first start out, nobody's going to come to you, right? They don't really know you.
Mm-hmm.
So I put my resume all together and kind of a little bit of brief history on, what I did in the past and how I'm involved in the motorsports industry. And yeah, they said, here's what we can offer you. And I thought, sure, why not? Let's try it out. And yeah, they've been great. So I'm really happy to be on board with them. I've also got Woody's, CNA Pro Skis,
Mm-hmm.
Power Mad. I actually just this year signed with Clutch Energy Drinks,
Okay.
which is a newer energy drink that came out. They are made in Wisconsin, down in Random Lake, which is kind of by Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And they have treated me really well. It was kind of a joke because I was working at a bunch of snowmobile events out east for Fly, and I came across this guy that I was talking to, and he said, oh yeah, I'm with Clutch Energy Drinks. And I thought, well, do you want to sponsor me? Kind of laughing and joking. He's like, yeah, sure, why not? And I thought, well, that was easy.
Oh man,
so
that's
yeah,
awesome.
they've been great too. And yeah, and I've actually been snowballing with them here. I went and worked in Green Bay a couple weeks ago for them at an event, and now they asked me to do a couple more things for them. I designed some T-shirts and going to be doing some social media stuff for them, and probably some more things coming up soon. So that's pretty exciting. It's always nice when I can kind of snowball my sponsorship into my designing,
Mm-hmm.
because people don't really know what I do. And when I tell them, hey, I can design some shirts for you, I can do marketing for you, I can do some social media or ads or whatever you need. They're always accepting of that. They're pretty excited to have somebody new, somebody fresh that can come up with, an idea for their company. So
yeah, that's perfect.
That's been pretty cool.
The being able to mix different skill sets like that is phenomenal. It just
Mm-hmm.
kind of reminded me of someone who's been on the show a couple times now. Taylor Hyman is her name, but she races motocross. And she does on the side, similar things like social media. And she does company event type activities. And she does, what was the last one that she said that she was involved? Press Box MX. It's, like a show she does where she'll actually go and interview people as well. So she builds all that stuff together into, how she benefits her sponsors, right? It's a nice little addition.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if people are listening right now, I highly encourage, if you have something like that your sponsors can leverage, that maybe it's your day job, maybe it's, your side business, whatever, think about how you can leverage that.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, we're going to talk a lot more about all that stuff in just a minute. But first, I guess before I transition, did we get all your sponsors? Did I cut you off?
No, a couple of my other sponsors, Caliber, Venom Products, obviously Polaris has been a big one there. They've been really great, Polaris Engineered Lubricants. And then Ride Brand as well, the Ride.
Mm-hmm.
They're over in Minnesota. They've got all the different states. They've been awesome, and I've been working with them too. Like I said, kind of crossover with some of the social media, being a brand ambassador, things like that. And they've been really great to work with. I mean, all of my sponsors are amazing. They've really made my life a lot easier, in the racing aspect, and especially with my injury, they've been so supportive and understanding and accepting, and I'm really excited to work with all of them next season for sure.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I thought that I might have cut you off there, so I want to make sure I went back and allowed you to
definitely
do the shout out, because that's part of the show, right? Shouting out all your sponsors, you got to get that opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, actually, speaking of shouting out sponsors, That's what I'm going to do next year. I'm going to take a minute to thank the sponsors for this podcast. Family Race Team. Those are the first words that come to mind when I think of Bold Racing. And the next one is actually axles. Bold Racing is a premier distributor of GSP XTV axles. And if that wasn't cool enough, they just came out with an entirely new axle called the Revolution axle. It is a hollow tube axle. It's really cool. If you head over to their website, gspxtv.com, or you can find out more at boldracingltd.com, you can find out how this new axle technology works. So they are saying to view this as a fuse for your drivetrain. So the hollow tube CV axle twist technology actually increases the strength and reliability of the axle, and it also reduces stress on the drivetrain. Plus, honestly, it's super cool looking, and if people know me, they know that I really like cool looking stuff. So they come in this really cool gold color. Check it out. It's absolutely revolutionary.
Hey guys, George Hamill here to talk about SolderWeld's new off-road repair kit. If you're a racer of any type or an off-road enthusiast like myself, you're going to want to take a close look at this product that bonds metal on the spot. SolderWeld has combined some of their most elite products into one small kit that fits perfectly under your seat or strapped to a roll cage and allows you to make some insane fixes anywhere you go. How many of us have been in a race or out on the trail and got a rock chip in a radiator or brake line? We have seen a top-tier desert race team at the 2019 Min 400 taken out by a simple rock to the radiator. If they had an off-road repair kit on board, they could have been back up and running in just minutes. The kit includes everything you need to work on dirty aluminum, stainless steel, copper, and many other metals. SolderWeld's cutting-edge technology allows you to make these fixes with extremely low heat and incredibly high tensile strength, leaving you a lasting fix every time. Don't be that guy broke down on the side of the trail. Get your off-road repair kit today, and your friends will thank you.
Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out CrashAddict.com and at least see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority. 2 questions I get continuously about this show and about sponsorship is, do I need my own website and do I need a resume? The answer is, in my opinion, yes to both, and that's why we partner with TopThePodium.com. Now, if you want to see an example of what a professional website and what a professional resume looks like, you gotta check out TopThePodium.com. They did my website. The Sponsored Rider Club Podcast website is sponsoredriderclubpodcast.com. That was created by Jeff Vanistall of TopThePodium.com. I think it's awesome. I get a lot of good feedback about it. And there's a number of other websites out there that Jeff has produced that are just phenomenal. So I think it's important in this world of social media where you have control of your content. That's what a website does. It gives you full control. We don't know what Facebook's going to do sometimes. We don't know what Instagram's going to do. We don't know what Twitter's going to do. So if we don't have that central location to direct people and house our content, there is some risk that we incur. So I strongly recommend getting a website, talking to TopThePodium.com. And then the resume, again, is massive. And if you want to stand out, get it done professionally. And honestly, it is one of the best ways to step up your game and present yourself in the best way possible. let's talk about AMSOIL. Maybe you've seen them at Sturgis or the AMSOIL Championship Snowcross Series, maybe your local track. Maybe you heard about them on this show. They are all over the power sports world, and here is why they get it. They're a bunch of gearheads just like you and I. They're riders, they're racers, just like us. They're also chemists and engineers, which means they're good at making synthetic oil. That's what we want them to be good at. Their time at the track and on the streets, it gives them that first-hand knowledge of how tough equipment is on oil. Extreme heat, increased stress, high RPM riding, it all works against you and your ride to basically get you sidelined. But no worry, AMSOIL handcrafts synthetic lubricants that fight wear and resist extreme heat so that you can get the most power and best performance out of whatever it is that you ride. Visit amsoil.com/rider for more details and check out their full line of products for anything that you ride. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in the main event. That's where we talk about sponsorship tactics and strategies. So, for you, I want to go through a couple of examples here of maybe how you built that relationship with a sponsor, how you found them, maybe what they see in you, how you sustain that relationship. I'll let you pick it from any of those.
I guess I could, start with how I got my sponsors and how I'm sustaining my sponsors. I think it's when I first started racing, like I said, it was a matter of applying and sending in my resume and cover letter and really amping myself up and telling them why I would be great to be sponsored. And for me, it was, not only what they could do for me, but what I could do for them. So I wanted something from them, but in return, I could, promote them on social media. I could help them out with design work, all those sort of things definitely helped me out because they could see value in me. And that's what I think is really important to your sponsors. They want to see the value in you and why they should sponsor you. It's not just, because I don't have any money or because I want this brand so I look cool. That stuff is not what they're interested in. They want to know what you can also provide for them in your sponsorship.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the design work thing, we talked about that right before the break. That's a great way to, do what I call trading, right? You're trading the types of services that you offer for the types of services that they offer. I've done that with the show too. Every now and then, I'll talk about people who are partners, right? And I'll help them with certain things. They'll help me with certain things. And it's really, a great way to stand out amongst the crowd because not everybody can do graphic design and not everybody is also a snowmobile racer and, a car racer. So you kind of have those things together, and you can offer a different type of value.
Right.
So you kind of talked about how you started with fly racing a little bit, and you talked a little bit about clutch, where that was hey, you just fell into it.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
But is there one other one that maybe it was a different way that you got into the sponsorship with them?
Yeah, I would definitely have to say with Ride brand.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought their clothing was cool, and I didn't really know what it was all about. I just saw a hat and was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I want that. And then I did a little more research and looked into it, and it was like, wow, this is a pretty cool lifestyle brand. I would love to be part of this. And so I reached out to them, and I met Dustin, who actually is, the main guy and works over in Minneapolis. And I was like, hey, I really love your stuff. Is there something we could do? I don't know if you do any sort of sponsorship deals or if you do any sort of brand ambassador stuff. I would love to be a part of it. And it was I reached out to him on social media. I think I maybe sent him an Instagram message or something, but he responded right away and was actually interested and thought it'd be a great idea. So that's kind of how that got started. And he's been taking great care of me ever since. So I've got some stuff here launching May 1st with some brand ambassador stuff and more social media. So that'll be pretty exciting, but it's a great brand. It's a great lifestyle. They've got, an amazing attitude towards life and really, showing what they are. They've got all kinds of different lines now too. They've got Hunt Wisconsin, Fish Wisconsin, Ride Wisconsin, and with all the states. So it's pretty neat. It's like its own little community. Everybody, oh, you've got the ride hat, and what
cool.
state do you have? It's kind of cool to see. I was just up at Lutzen this weekend, and ride Minnesota hats and shirts all over the place. It was great.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, there's a couple of things that I wanted to pull out of that. First off is just that each of those, it was a different way that you connect with them. We just talked about 3, right? We talked about with Clutch, you just, you tripped and fell into sponsorship there. With Fly Racing, it sounded like you went through a more of a formal application process with the resume and all that stuff. And, you reached out on social media for the Ride brand, which is pretty cool. It's so funny. I get this more times than I'd care to admit, where people reach out to me and say, how do I get sponsored? Like, that's how they'll say it. I mean, I guess that's what I try to promote too. Like, you come to the right place, But, people say that, like, how do I get sponsored? And they'll do it in like a text message, or they'll do it in like a one-line email, or they'll do it in like a one-line on social media. I'm like, oh my goodness. I want to tell them, listen to the last 153 episodes, and maybe you'll have like an idea of where to start.
Right.
Because there's so many different ways that these things happen. And then those are just the ones that you can predict. A lot of times I tell people, like, just make great content and show up and go to events and, win races, any one of those things, and someone is likely going to notice you. So it's like, I don't know. There's so many different avenues for this whole, deal to take place.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's good. Now, sometimes people don't have an answer for this, but we're going to see if you do. I'm curious if you've been in a situation where things didn't go well with the sponsor, something went a little wrong or didn't go as you expected. And if that has happened, I'd like to hear a little bit about it. I don't want to know the company name or anything, but, I'd just like to know if that's happened. What'd you do about it?
I actually have not had anything like that happen to me. Fortunately, I think. I haven't really had any issues or problems or anything wrong or anything happen with any of my sponsors. They've all been great, and I've been really happy with them. So yeah, I can't really say to that.
Well, that's really good. Has there been a time when you tried to pursue a sponsor and it didn't pan out?
Boy, that's a good question. Probably. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure I applied to some place hoping that I would, get picked up, and I didn't. But I've had mostly sponsors pretty much for my whole race career, which is not long. So if I would have, it would have been early on when I was first applying or reaching out to people. The car is a little different. I feel like it's pretty, I shouldn't say easy, but it's, a lot easier, I guess, to find sponsors in the snowmobile race industry. Not so much in the car industry. It's tough because racing cars is very expensive.
Yeah.
And I don't think unless it's televised, I don't think it's something that, people are really interested in sponsoring, or companies are really interested in sponsoring, unless you are a huge name and you're, racing a Ferrari or a Mustang or a Corvette or some kind of big name car. I'm racing a vintage, car that nobody really even knows what it is. And so I think it's hard for me to find sponsors for car racing, but, I am looking for any help I can get. So I will reach out to people and say, hey, I'm racing cars. This is what I've got. This is what I'm doing. I always throw out my social media. I never was really big on social media. But obviously with the way the world is and how everything seems to be evolving, and in the social media world, I've really tried to step up my game and post and get followers and whatever. So, getting sponsors for cars, it's a challenge. It's definitely a whole different ball game.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up. I literally just this morning, for people listening, it is April 28th of 2019 when we're recording this. Just this morning, I released a show that talked about the different disciplines of motorsports sponsorship, like, snowmobile and backcountry and, track racing, desert racing. And I just kind of tried to break down the nuances between those different disciplines, and then also the fundamental things that are the same. But one thing I didn't talk about, which I wish I had, and you just kind of brought it up here, is that some industries are actually more difficult to gain sponsorship in. That would have been a pretty cool topic to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at, like you said, the desert racing, the dirt track racing, any of that kind of stuff. It seems like people are gravitated towards that for sponsorships, whereas, the road racing is not really big on the sponsorships. It's very interesting. I've definitely been finding that out, and, maybe you'll get a fuel sponsor here or there, but it's not like you don't see all of these road racing cars with decals and stickers and logos of your sponsors all over them. Just the clean car with, and if they're sponsored, maybe they'll have a little sticker on the bumper or whatever, but it's not big in road racing.
I wonder why that is. I mean, do you know? Like, do you have any reasons why you think it's like that?
I have no idea. No. And I don't know if it's because, people that road race have tons of money and they don't think they need them, but
Yeah,
I honestly have no idea because, I race with upwards of $1 million cars. There's, Jaguars and Aston Martin, all these extravagant cars that these people are racing. And I'm actually one of the youngest racers. Not a lot of young people road race. And I think it definitely has something to do with the money aspect of it. These, this is going to sound terrible, but these old rich guys that can afford all these cars, they go out and they just like to run on the tracks and they don't need sponsors. So, that definitely could be part of it.
That's a pretty good point, because if you're, the primary group is not seeking sponsorships, right? If the main racers are like, because sponsorship is work, right? It adds a lot of challenges. I know sometimes because I've got people who help me out with products for snowmobiles and stuff like that, and for Jeep. And sometimes I'm like, man, I want this thing and I would love to pursue a sponsorship, but gosh, I just can't take anymore. Like I don't have enough time left in the day to devote to this. So I'm just going to go and pay full price or whatever it is. And these guys that you just talked about, the old rich guys, like they're like, I'm not going to spend any energy. Why would I need to? Because I have what I need, and I just want to get out there and enjoy myself. I don't want to bring along the extra work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one. I hadn't really thought about that. Well, that's good. I learned something, or at least got to ponder something else today.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I want to know now a little bit more about your social media strategy. I typically like to bring people on the show that have. I don't necessarily target like 1 million followers, although that's like if Travis Pastrana wants to come back on the show for like an hour, that's fine because he's got 1 million followers and that's cool. Like I'll take that. But I like to look at people's social media that have a strong engagement. So for example, for like on your Instagram, you get a lot of your followers, or a big percentage of the people who follow you are engaging with your posts. Whereas like my podcast is not like that. I do much better on like my Jeep Instagram than I do on my podcast Instagram, and I have like 3 times as many followers. But I think that's pretty interesting how people are able to do that. And then for you as well, I'm just curious because you have some experience outside of just like your racing stuff with graphic design and content creation and social media stuff. So let's hear about that. Like, what's your social media strategy? How do you even go about planning or creating content, things like that?
Boy, I got to be honest with you, I am not good at it. I try sometimes, but then I get overwhelmed and I'm just like, the heck with it. I'm not doing this today. I don't feel like it. But it's a lot of work, and it's way more work than I ever thought it was going to be, because I never really cared about Instagram, or I was kind of on Facebook and whatnot, but it was all personal stuff. And then all of a sudden I started doing the racing thing and getting sponsored, and it's like, okay, I've got to completely change my game. Like, nobody cares that I'm out playing with my friend's dog. I got to post my racing stuff, right? So it completely changed, and it's funny that I'm bringing this up because I just the other day was scrolling through, and I'm literally scrolling through and deleting stuff off of my Instagram because I think I got it in, 2012 or something or whatever. And I'm like, I cannot believe this is on here. And my page is public. Oh my gosh, I got to get this off of here. I look like a huge dork.
Yeah.
And so it's now become this game that I have to figure out what I'm going to post. Does it make sense? Does it show what I'm doing? Will my sponsors like this? Will the public like this? And I haven't figured it out yet, honestly. I see when most of my followers are online. I see, what they like, what they're liking most on my pictures. And then it's just kind of, trial and error. It's like, okay, well, that worked. So let's try this time of day to post and see how many likes I get. Or let's post a photo that looks like this and see if it gets me any more followers. Or, hashtag this and see what it does. And tag this person and tag this sponsor and see what that does. I don't really have it figured out. It's really hard, and I try to be good at it, but sometimes I'm just overwhelmed, especially owning my own graphic design business. I've got that's a lot more important than trying to make a post every single day. So I do get a few days here that I don't actually get posts done. But yeah, like you mentioned with the engagement, it's awesome because I have tons of messages coming through, tons of comments. And no, I don't have a lot of followers. I think I've got like 3,100 something followers, but it's everybody that follows me seems to be, like you said, engaged, which I think is a lot more important than having millions of followers that you don't know, that aren't messaging you, that aren't interacting with you. Right. So, yeah, it's definitely a learning curve for me to try and figure this whole thing out.
Well, join the club. I feel like even the people who have been on here, that have 300,000 followers, right? They're still like trying to figure this whole thing out, and then it shifts,
right?
And they don't know why it shifted. The comment though about the engagement is huge. Almost everybody that's ever been on this show says that, right? Especially from the business side, when people come on representing their companies, they say, I would rather take 100 followers with 100 engaged people than 1 million followers with 200 engaged people, because
right,
they're looking for that deep connection. And yeah, so I know your profile brings that. Another one that I could think of right off the top of my head is Nate McLean. He came on here. He does he builds and runs his like a dune truck, right? I don't know how else to describe it. It's a pre-runner style truck, but he can run the sand dunes, and it's just intense. But I can't remember how many followers he has. Let's say it's 5,000. If he puts up a post, he's gonna have 30 to 40% of his followers are engaging with that. It's just crazy. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. But yeah, I definitely don't have it figured out. And I try to watch some of the bigger profiles here and there and just see what their engagement looks like. And you'll see somebody, maybe they'll have 20,000 likes, let's say on Instagram one day, and the next day they'll get one that's like 10,000. Like, holy cow!
Yeah,
that swing is just
crazy. It's crazy. I can definitely tell the content that I post too, because people get sick of looking at my snowmobile, and people get sick of looking at me with my helmet on. So but through my whole race season, it seems like I'm posting all these pictures of me racing, helmet on, nobody knows what I look like, and then I'll post like a selfie or a picture of my face, and it just blows up. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's like that, people want that personal connection, and that's where you get it at. I mean, that's one of the things that I've definitely not done, like with this podcast. I mean, every now and then I'll put something up of on my story of me editing something or whatnot. But yeah, I definitely know what the racers are like. Oh wow, that's a human being. Oh, that's pretty cool. I kind of like them more. Sure. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it works in my advantage. I hate to say it, but me being a chick in a quote unquote dude industry, I mean, cool, that's an awesome picture of you racing. Great. Oh, wow, you took your helmet off? Now I can see what you look like? I really like that picture. It's sad to say, but, I think I get more likes when I post, I guess you could say a pretty picture or a picture of my face versus me all geared up, on the track.
Well, this is one thing I can say, because there's haters out there, and they're like, oh, pretty girls go and do their thing, and, that people like it because that, too bad, so sad. Get over it, because you know what I mean? Guys take advantage of, however many years of them being the primary people in the race world. That's that's fine. Like, just deal with it. Sorry guys, I know 86% of my listeners or whatever are male, but like, it's the truth. It's fine if a woman, there's so many more other obstacles that you gotta get over in the racing world. Like, I take advantage of that as much as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
And trust me, like, if I looked like Brad Pitt or something, or Chris Hemsworth, like, I would be taking advantage of that fully with my podcast. But yeah, so that's it actually brings me up to something pretty interesting, because if anybody listening goes back and looks at all of my old podcasts, this is episode 154. I don't know what the percentage is exactly, but I bring on as many female riders and racers as possible. It's probably close to like a 40-60 split female to male, which is kind of hard to do. But this is for a reason. Like, I'm pretty passionate about promoting this. But I just saw an article. I didn't read the whole thing, but I saw this article. And the reason actually how I saw it was a couple people who listen to the show and who've been on this show before, like, commented on it on Facebook. So one of them was Sarah Price. If you know Sarah Price at all, yeah, she's awesome, and she, like, dominates the race world. But either way, the article is like, women can't compete with men in cars. Like, it wasn't like motocross or ATV where there's a little bit more of that physical element that creates a bigger divide there. It was like in a car. And I don't know what all the reasons why they posted this article, but Sarah Price saw that. She's like, excuse me? Like, what?
Yeah.
Or like Kristen Matlock, who's been on this show, like, she goes out and wins Baja, like, every day. So I don't know. It's just, yeah. Long story short, you can tell you'd have a passion point for me. Long story short, like, you do what you got to do, and like, everybody else can just deal with it.
Exactly. If you don't like it, don't look at it. That's what I think. That's my mentality, because I used to get so concerned. Should I post this? Is everybody going to like it? It's like, who cares if everybody likes it? If they don't, they're not going to like the picture. If they do, they'll click on the little heart, like it.
Right.
If you don't like it, don't look at it. I don't really care. I'm putting up what I like to put up, and I feel like if you're following me, you're going to like what I'm putting up, and if you don't, then you're unfollowing me, and it's not really a big deal to me. Right.
That's a very good point. Someone who's done a really good job with, like, the haters is 4x4 Barbie. Her name's Pleasant Cook. So she's been on the show. Yeah, for sure. I think it's been 4 times now. And she's just makes a joke out of everything. It's pretty funny. And that's how she is in real life, too. But, she'll have people say stuff like, oh, you never, these trucks never even have it in mud. And then she puts up a picture of some mud she grabbed off the ground and, like, just kind of placed a little bit on a tire, because they're show trucks, they're not mud trucks, right? And
right.
She's like, who says that I'm never getting mud? Or I don't know, just all those little jokes. And people message her with, like, completely inappropriate things all the time, and she'll make a joke out of that too, which I think is pretty good way of handling it.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have to have thick skin, because the social media world is just gone crazy, and people don't have filters, and they say whatever they want, and you got to have thick skin. If you're going to be out there and putting yourself out there, you got to realize that there's going to be people that don't approve or that have something to say about it, and you just have to know that you're doing this because you want to do this, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Definitely. Well, I got one more question this round. We'll kind of move on from the social media piece, and that's just around something unique that you've done in the past to promote your sponsors. It sounds like you do a lot of events, but is there something, like, kind of cool or different that stands out to you?
As far as, helping out sponsors, or...
Yeah, like something maybe that was a little bit unique, something that's a little bit different outside of the ordinary social media post, or putting a sticker on the machine.
I actually this year started working really closely with Fly Racing, and they flew me out to a bunch of snowmobile shows right before the season got started, and I was out east. I was at Heydays. I was helping out in the booth. I was brand ambassador, selling Fly Racing clothing, gear, whatnot. And that was pretty cool because I kind of got to see the back end of things on their side. It's not just, oh, we'll sponsor you, here's X amount of dollars, and here's some stickers, and here's some clothing. It's, hey, come aboard with us, come sell some stuff, check out our stuff, be a brand ambassador, know our stuff, and then, tell people about it. Bring people in, have them come try stuff on. And that was really cool because I'm definitely a people person and I love interacting with people. And it was fun for me because I'd never done anything like that before. And it was awesome that it was with one of my sponsors. I wasn't just hired as, a sales manager or something. I actually got to hang out with everybody, and it was really fun. I got to meet a lot of people, and I love Fly. I love all of my stuff. So it was easy to talk it to people because it was like, hey, I actually wear this. I run this stuff, and I love it, and I never get cold. And, I have these boots. Try these boots on. I have these. Don't leak. It was nice to talk about what I know. And people, they're coming in looking for advice because they have no idea. So that was a pretty cool experience.
No, that's perfect. And I heard you say you were at Heydays last year, huh?
I was at Heydays last year, and I will be at Heydays again this year.
Hey.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I've got a couple people that have asked, hey, you got anybody that you're working for? And so I've got 3 of them right now that I kind of need to go over a few things with to see what I can do. But yeah, I've been asked a lot if I'm going to be at Heydays this year and if I can help out in certain places. Hopefully I can get in with the autograph session at Polaris if they didn't disown me for crashing, but
yeah.
We'll see what they say.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, I was at Heydays last year. It was my first time. A lot of fun. I did some podcasting out of the HMK booth and the AMSOIL booth. Lots of fun. Met a lot of cool people. I don't know if I made it to the fly racing tent though. I don't think so. So I don't think we've met before.
No. I think you're gonna have to come this year and
this
see
year.
me.
This is the time. And
Definitely.
Just for heads up, a warning is that when I'm at Heydays, I am seeking out people to do live interviews with, specifically people that I've already known or already talked to before. So you better be ready.
Perfect. Sign me up.
Perfect.
I'm ready.
Well, good. Well, I am ready actually to go through the lightning round. So this is a quicker round. It's going through a couple of questions, and the first one typically stumps people, honestly, but let's see how you do with it. And then like I said, I think I got 3 questions here. So if you could sponsor, oh yeah, it is but don't worry though, because no one ever actually does the first question right. But if you could sponsor anyone in the world, who would you choose and why?
Who would I sponsor?
Yes.
I don't have any money, so I'm not going to sponsor anyone.
But if you could, if you had the resources.
Let's see here. Man, that's a great question.
I know everybody tells me that, and then they sit on it for a little while, and then they're like, ooh, I don't know, and then they end up picking 8 people, or tell me about the type of person, but not a person. But it's all good.
Yeah, I don't know who I would sponsor. I feel like I would want to sponsor somebody that deserves it, whether I know them or not. I would want to sponsor somebody that's super dedicated, hardworking, just passionate about whatever they're racing or whatever they need a sponsorship for. So I can't really say a specific person, but definitely somebody that, is a go-getter that I could see growing with whatever sport they're doing, and somebody that just really, really, really wants it and is going to work hard for it.
Oh, that's good. I like to explain why I asked that question after I ask it, because I think it's important that you think about the type of person you would sponsor, because that's a lot of times links to your values. So behind every business is a human being, and behind that human being and all their logic and stuff is emotions, and people actually make decisions with emotions as much as they try to tell themselves that they make it based off of logic. So they look for things, they look for values that people showcase that aligns with their own personal values. And what you kind of just did there was you started breaking out some of your own personal values. So you would want to find people that align with those things. So companies are doing the same deal. It's the same thing. It's the same process. And they'll look for those traits in people. And when they find it, they go in for it. And that's where that's where these relationships end up. If for some reason, you or the sponsor don't have values that are aligned, typically the relationship doesn't last that long, or, it's never quite as good as it could have been.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's good. So question 1 is down, and question 2 here. If you could only use one social media platform, which would you choose and why?
That's funny because if you would have asked me like 5 years ago, I definitely would have said Facebook, but now without question, 100% Instagram.
Yeah.
Because everybody's on Instagram. Facebook, I feel like, is still there, but it's kind of dying, and I don't know if it's as popular as it used to be, and I think it's kind of geared more towards like maybe an older generation. I feel like the new rage is Instagram. Even though it's been out for a while, I think everybody is Instagram crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's answered anything other than that on this show yet, other than Brad Kowitz of Trail Recon, because he's a YouTube sensation, so he said YouTube.
Sure.
But mostly everybody else says Instagram. I try to pay attention to other social media platforms as well. I came into Instagram a little late, so I kind of missed the big bang of Instagram, but I tried playing with TikTok the other day. Well, I guess it was probably been a month ago now, and I was trying to figure out, like, is there a way to leverage that somehow? And there might be, but I couldn't see it for like motorsport stuff. But TikTok is a big deal right now. Tons of people are on there, but they're all very young. Well, I guess people probably think that I'm very young too, but I don't think of myself that way. So it's all relative. But either way, I like to ask that question, see where people's heads are at. All right. Well, who would you say has been your biggest supporter?
I would definitely have to say equally both of my parents, because my mom kind of, like I said earlier, started off 100% against it. But since I've gotten older and she's kind of seen what I've done, she's been more accepting of it. And, she's had a couple hard tarts with me, and she says, even if I don't approve, I want you to be happy and I want you to be doing what you're doing, and I will support that even if I don't like it.
Good.
So obviously my dad loves that I race. He thinks it's, awesome that his little baby girl is doing all this cool stuff, and he gets to race cars with me. So of course he's 100% on board. But yeah, it's great that my mom now she's okay with it.
Perfect. Well, that brings us to the finish line. So time to wrap up. If you could just kind of leave the audience with one piece of advice that they need to take away from this conversation, that'd be great.
I would say just keep pushing. Don't give up. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have good days and bad days. And, especially if you're applying for a sponsorship, if you get shot down, don't take it personally. It's going to happen. You just got to keep trying. You got to keep putting yourself out there, do the best you can. Give them all of the information that you can give them about yourself. Make yourself valuable. Tell them why they should pick you and what you can do for them as well.
No, perfect. Well, what is the best way for people listening to connect with you?
I would have to say social media. I've had to put an alarm on my phone because I'm on it all the time, and I go through probably 3 battery charges a day. But Definitely social media. I try to respond to everybody. If I don't get to you, the day of, definitely will get to you the next day. But yeah, send me a message or comment on a photo, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I've got Snapchat, but it's not open to the public, so not many people message me on there. But yeah, for sure, I will definitely respond if you send me a message. So.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat tonight. And if I don't talk to you in a couple days, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Big deal coming up there. And I'm probably going to end up seeing you at Heydays this year because I don't have my hotel or anything booked yet, but it's going to happen. I will be there.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm pumped already. But at this point, I'm going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4 Wheel Parts. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming shows. Follow us on social media as well. That's where we share a lot of information and upcoming guests for the show. Pay specific attention to our Facebook page. That's where we do our live shows 2 each month. To get some insider access and upcoming guests, you can also check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. That also offers a forum for best practices sharing, so you can ask questions and get answers from the motorsports community. A special thanks goes out to our sponsors, 4 Wheel Parts, AMSOIL, SolderWeld, Bold Racing, TopThePodium.com, and Crash Addict Industries. I also want to shout out some of our other partners, GSP XTV, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, Diode Dynamics, and High Octane Coffee. I look forward to serving you again next week. Until then, have fun and ride safe.